Here I go, here I go, here I go. Yeah, here I go, here I go.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of The Take. I'm your host, Jackson Burleson, of course. And in today's episode, we've got a special guest. And before I introduce this special guest, you guys have to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and also comment what you think about this MLB season. Spring training is just starting. We've got some games in Arizona. We've got them down here in Florida. So everyone's in some sunshine to start out with baseball season. But I'm going to bring in my boy, Gabriel Vasquez. He's back on the podcast. Of course, former Cubs fan as well. Also former baseball player in high school as well. Shortstop, correct? Am I correct? Shortstop?
Correct. Middle infielder, second and short. Hobby, all the way.
So, dude, I need to seriously.
It's like hobby, man.
Whoa! He does have. He does have the hobby. He does have the hobby. He's not on the Cubs anymore. But I seriously appreciate you hopping on, bro. Every time, the last couple of times, we've had some big news when it comes to Major League Baseball.
Absolutely, man. It's great to be on. See you again, my man. Hope you're doing good down there and doing your thing. Thanks for having me, of course, and for baseball. Go Cubs.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Go Cubs. We'll talk about the Chicago Cubs in this episode. So if you're Cubs fans, please stick around because we have to dive in to this whole divorce between ESPN and Major League Baseball. Okay,
Yeah.
So to give you guys some context, in 2021, ESPN and Major League Baseball, they agreed to a 7-year, $550 million deal. And in that contract, there's an opt-out after the 2025 season. And ESPN has decided to opt out of the deal. And the deadline to opt out of that deal was March 1st. So after the 2025 season, ESPN and Major League Baseball will no longer be a thing. And after that happened, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, said it was beneficial to accept a smaller deal to remain on a shrinking platform. So he's taking shots at ESPN. And this is a pretty big deal because ESPN was literally paying Major League Baseball $550 million per year to have them on ESPN. Now, since they opted out, they don't have to pay that. And the whole thing is they wanted to lower the amount. So how did ESPN handle this situation with Major League Baseball, in your opinion?
Well, personally, for me, ESPN does not like baseball. That's just my personal opinion. They just never had that love for it. Like every time you watch Pardon the Interruption, you never really see that many baseball segments or blocks. It's all basketball, football. I mean, you throw in some other small sports in there, but in my opinion, I've been knowing ESPN and watching their shows, they haven't really just appreciated the game. And I feel like this was the time for them to do it with the contracts and the fact that we just looked up, $550 million is a lot of money, but compared to the other networks that they're giving them, Fox gives them the most with over 700, almost 730 million.
Yeah, it's
and
729, and then Turner's also in there
725.
as well. So like, they're getting a lot of money anyways.
Exactly. And the way that ESPN handled it, I feel like is straight, bogus to me. And MLB just had enough of it. I just feel like they just like, you know what? You don't appreciate our sport. You're trying to cheap us out of certain, deals or whatever they want to, like the grade. They want to take out so many games. They took out baseball tonight after 2017. They're just not appreciating the sport, and I feel like it shows. And MLB finally stepped on their foot and said, "Forget it."
Yeah, I agree with you saying that ESPN doesn't like baseball because like every time you turn on like shows like Sports Center or First Take or some of these morning shows, name a time that they ever had an MLB segment.
Can't tell you. I mean, I watched it for almost 2 years. I always come to your house. You put ESPN on. No
No
sports
baseball.
at all. Like especially on PTI. Like I love PTI. It's a great segment. It's a great show. They don't do baseball that much. Barely see it.
And I also think it's kind of weird because, let's be honest, the National Basketball Association their product is god awful right now. And in my opinion, going back to this past postseason for Major League Baseball and the NBA playoffs, comparing those two playoffs, Major League Baseball's playoffs were way better.
1,000%.
I mean, it's just, and also the numbers are better. I know they play more games, but like still, Major League Baseball is pulling in more views, and the NBA since 2020, their views are tanking badly. Like I literally, if you guys haven't checked out that last NBA podcast I did, go check it out because I'm not gonna get into the depth of it right now. But
he had his
dude, yes, it was my head was about to explode. But enough of NBA because we're here to talk about baseball. Okay, so I think this is actually interesting because of what Manfred said. So the comments that Manfred said, he said, we don't want to be a part of a shrinking platform like ESPN. How do you assess the commissioner's comments there?
I feel like it goes back to like what you were saying, how NBA is. Because ESPN is so heavy on basketball that because basketball is dropping, it makes ESPN look a little bad. And I know ESPN in general has had their issues with cutting employees and just not being the same anymore. I mean, I've bumped into former ESPN employees and they're saying it's just not the same and they're just not doing the same thing they used to. And it's just declining in general. And baseball is trying to be a growing sport. They don't want to put something like ESPN, not to totally diss them, but put their sport on their network when one, like I just mentioned, they're not helping them out at all. They're cutting their deals, they're cutting segments, they're not showing them frequently, along with just them wanting to increase. Well, ESPN is, quite frankly, not doing the same.
Right, and also just this television in general is pretty much changing. And while Major League Baseball was in this deal with ESPN, they got a deal with Apple TV for about $85 to $90 million. And then they also had a deal with Roku TV for $10 million. So they've been showing some games on other streaming platforms. And Manfred also said that Major League Baseball is in conversations with other streaming platforms like Amazon and Netflix, who have bigger audiences than cable television right now. So with that, laying that out there, how does Major League Baseball and their future look with leaving ESPN after this season?
I think it's looking pretty good. And if you really follow sports, I have a couple of friends that just tell me that baseball is declining in viewership. And it's just not true. Like, they just don't know what they're talking about. Personal friend of mine here in Florida. We're not getting to that. I feel like you just said, and even with our school at Full Sail, they teach us that, TV and cable is just not... It's not the biggest platform to watch things. You go on streaming, and NFL has done it. You see other sports, hockey is doing it. You see, that is how you get viewers because no one goes on their TV or their cable and says, hey, I want to watch so-and-so on channel whatever. They go to Disney Plus, they go on Netflix, they go on Roku, they go on Hulu, all these other platforms. And like I said earlier, the fact that baseball wants to increase, that is a better way to approach it by finding platforms, specifically streaming platforms, to get there. And me personally, I don't. Rob Manfred has had his, inconsistency or even bad takes with baseball trying to get there. I think me personally, this is a really good take that Rob has into getting baseball increasing on viewership.
And also, I think the big thing to notice is that, like, I feel like, how the Dodgers have their own, like, network, essentially. The Cubs, they have their own network, and they've had their own network for a long time. And I think the future of baseball is that direction. I mean, with streaming just being so popular, I mean, there's no reason for none of these teams to have their own broadcast companies for every single game. And it's not like ESPN was showing a bunch of regular season games. I mean, they really weren't even showing it that much.
Right. That was one of the things that they cut down as well. They cut down the amount of games from, like, I think it was maybe 30 games, even more than that they cut down because they just don't want to show them.
But that's bad business. If you're going to cut the games and then still pay $550 million, I mean, you're shorting your product anyways. So, like, it really doesn't even make any sense. And if you're going to have them for $550 million, you might as well take advantage of them by putting them in shows and getting as much content as you possibly can. Because from the future here on out, I mean, I know it's national sports. shows like Sports Center and things like that are always going to be able to talk about the biggest games, like the World Series, playoffs. But when you go back to this last season, I mean, even the NBA regular season was higher up in the rundown than a playoff series. I mean, it was absolutely absurd to me. Absurd.
No. It's just the way that the both sports are just using whatever advantage they can to their advantage. I mean, you see, like I said, baseball is using streaming stuff. Basketball is not doing as much to do it. They're keeping all-star games, letting the star players not play, and it's just not a great look. And I guess it goes back to what Manfred was saying, that we don't have want to be on a network that's not producing as much.
Oh, and I'm glad you brought the All-Star thing up, because I think Major League Baseball All-Star game is probably the only one that's really safe.
Absolutely. MLB's All-Star game is tradition. It's been NL and AL. Like I know I mentioned, like in baseball, it's not conference or Eastern or Western. It's national and American. So that just shows like a bigger tradition.
But that's the same. But that's the same thing. But I guess to kind of piggyback off that, because the tradition part is like, it's not the conferences. Like that's the tradition. But the problem with the other leagues like the NBA is that they've been going away from that. So they haven't been doing East versus West every single year. That's the tradition that's going away. But yes, you're right. Like with the tradition with the NL and the AL, even though we've had this conversation many times that are they two different leagues? No, like in my opinion, like they're just like the Eastern and Western Conference. They're conferences in a umbrella of a league. But yeah, That's the tradition that other leagues have gone away from. Now the NFL still does it, but it's not full contact. And with the MLB, it's not really a contact sport. So like you can kind of get away with a lot and you can still pitch hard. You just don't put your players out there for as much time.
Exactly. As long as they're there for a decent amount. Like you see, like last year, Paul Skeens probably threw 2 innings. You're there to see him for that one bit of time and then he's gone. You know, the starters, the actual starters, the hitters and the fielders, they're probably there for the first.
Well, I don't even think he played 2 innings. Paul Skeens didn't even play 2 innings. I think he only threw 4 batters.
He only did the one because he faced Judge and then he left. Yeah. So he even left. I mean, before they were going a little deeper, but now again with injuries and stuff, and they didn't want to have him too deep. But before I used to watch at least 2, but usually it's just the 1. But with baseball's All-Star game, it just goes back to the beginning, and they're so traditional, and that's why baseball. I love them so much because they keep a tradition. They go back 100 plus years and they keep that there while now adding newer technologies.
And speaking of adding newer technologies, they're trying out something new. The automated ball strike challenge system, which is actually very intriguing because it's the Hawkeye system, which tennis has been using for many years. And the first time the Hawkeye system was ever used was in cricket on television in 1999. So cricket and baseball, they have similar paths. So with this spring training automated system now, how much better do you think that makes the game?
Well, it's new, and we're seeing it in a spring training, atmosphere. So it's a lot different. I feel like it'll keep, the integrity of the game there. I know like some older heads might be like, oh, it's now just ruining the game. Me personally, I feel like I don't hate it because like it gets the calls right. I know it's like again, it's kind of OD. Like you gotta like challenge a lot of pitches. It might make the game a little slower. I mean, not really. It's only like a second they put it up there.
Right, and the player can challenge it right away, which I think the interesting part of it is the managers in the dugout. They can't challenge at all.
Oh, right. And the thing I like about it, it's kind of like the regular challenge system. If you lose 2 of them, you get no more, and you can't do it in extra innings. So the extra innings one gets really intense because like, oh man, close game, extra innings, scoring position, chance to tie or win the game, and a bad call by the blue. So it depends. And I know when I was watching one of the Cubs games, certain parks, I don't know if you knew this, my boy, certain parks don't have the technology.
Yeah. I was watching a spring training game today. I can't remember where it was at. I think it was the Mets and Astros were playing. I think it's out in Arizona, or no, I think it was in West Palm. I could be wrong in the location, but I remember the play-by-play commentator said this is like one of the only parks without the ABS system.
Yeah, and I think I know the Cubs, ours doesn't either. I watched it and they didn't challenge a call, which I thought was close. So, I mean, I think that was kind of interesting that our park doesn't have it. But I know some major league coaches, they don't want their players to use it. I know the Reds coach, Reds manager, excuse me, Terry Francona.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, because they don't want, because to them, it's not implemented this year. So they don't want them to get used to it by something they're not going to use. Well, the minor leaguers, they do too. And Craig Counsell said the same thing on our broadcast on Marquee that they don't want our major leaguers to do it when they have the chance.
Well, that makes sense because you don't want the strategy to be, you don't want to spend so much time on that and then, it go to waste. But also, I mean, they have been testing it in the minor leagues for a couple years. So I think they're just trying to bring it up slowly because if the MLB just said, hey, we're going to implement this right away, I mean, I don't know. You never know what you're going to get from that. I mean, it was kind of like it's not the same as the pitch clock, but it's very similar in a way because the pitch clock, I mean, did they try the pitch clock in the minors before? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, they did.
Okay, so it's kind of the same.
They tried it through different. They tried it actually before lower leagues, before the minors. The pitch clock was one of the things they really tested out. They tried it through A-ball, Arizona Fall League, and some of the Pacific leagues that they go through, and then they put it in the minors, and then just worked their way up. Low minors, middle of the pack minors, and then AAA, and then obviously it went to the majors. So I think again, MLB is in the right direction. And I feel like at first I was against the ABS, the automatic strike call, because it's man, you're going to challenge the pitches. It's going to take, it's going to be a little annoying. But no, after last year, I mean, I was this system has to come because there are some bad calls in the strike zone. It's really bad.
And I think we can go back to 2 years ago in the Phillies and Braves series where, we had a couple of Braves fans very upset about certain calls not being strikes or certain calls not being balls. And when you're in those situations, that's never going to be a problem anymore.
Right, exactly. And that's why I feel like this is going to be a good step in the right direction for it. And I feel like when it comes to the MLB, when it does after, it goes through the minors and certain spring training years, that it could be good for the game. And it might make the umpires better.
Well, the decision-making, I think, is going to be the toughest part because it's not up to the managers. So, a player can just go, I want to challenge that, first inning, Sometimes I feel like you may be maybe I can let that one slide. It's kind of early in the game.
Yeah,
That's what I think is people are going to have to figure out.
I feel like with me, though, one thing that I am worried about is, let's say it's Game 7, World Series, and, it's bases loaded, 1-run game, bottom of the ninth, and there's a close pitch, and it goes against, let's say, the batter's way, and the batter wants to challenge it, or let's say it goes the pitcher's way, and the pitcher wants to challenge it, and it's a strike to be called on the ABS system. You know how weird that would be? And then someone wins the World Series on that? that would, and that's just getting in my head. That would be kind of insane, don't you think?
Yeah, I also heard a manager say that they don't want the pitchers challenging it.
Really?
That they don't want to do it.
Okay.
So I think it's tough. I mean, you got to have a good eye too. I mean, you got to be able to, you have to know for a fact that is a strike. If you want to overturn it like that, because let's be honest, no batter is going to challenge a ball. That's simply not going to happen.
Right.
But a pitcher will. But a batter will only challenge a strike.
Exactly.
The catcher is really the wild card if you think about it.
Well, the catchers have been the ones that are doing it. The pitchers don't really do it that much. The catchers, because they're right behind the plate, they can see the angle. So I've seen the catchers do it pretty more frequently, and then there's some that get it wrong. I know there was one that was really high above the zone. I'm like, why are you challenging that pitch? It's super high. It's way up. And again, they're going to try to challenge the ones that nibble the corners. That's the ones that I'm worried about. You're trying to challenge the ones that are just outside, on a 1-0 count. Come on. Don't waste your challenge.
Wait till you get into the count. I think that's the appropriate.
Yeah.
I think that's
2 strikes or full. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm glad. I think it'll be implemented next season. I think what's interesting, actually, I heard after I think you go in the dugout and you fill out something on the iPad. It's feedback about the system right away. That's actually pretty unique.
Yes, it is pretty cool. I like that. They're giving it a chance to develop and be honest about it. And honestly, how can you go wrong with a robot? I mean, I know technology has its faults, but like it's there. The strike zone is there, and the ball is, and they zoom in on it. So it's pretty
It's
straightforward.
just like tennis. I mean, we've seen it done with tennis. So
Yeah.
and tennis gets the calls right.
Mhm.
So that's what we want. We just want the right calls. And now let's get into some free agency pickups. So
All
we,
right.
we had a pretty interesting off season when it came to Major League Baseball. So right now, me and Gabe, we're gonna name our favorite free agency pickups. Now I did have one that I was gonna say, but I actually kind of changed it. So
Can I guess it? Can I
well,
guess it?
actually, I think the Diamondbacks getting Corbin Burns is a huge deal.
Yes. It's a good one.
2.92 ERA last
man.
year, absolute stud. I think that makes the Diamondbacks pretty dangerous, in my opinion. I can't
I would
believe
agree.
the
That
Orioles
was
even let him go.
Yes, and that was a short tenure they had with him. I mean, that was only a little bit they had, and then they let him go, and he signed that big deal. But that's one of the things that the Diamondbacks needed was starting pitching, and they definitely got it. So I feel like with that on their team, it's gonna help them a lot, and not have them go into their bullpen as much, like they don't want to, and give their team an opportunity to score more runs while Corbin's on the mound because Corbin is a good pitcher.
He's good, and why would the Orioles let him go? The
I don't know.
Orioles might have taken some L's this offseason because
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like they lost more than they really got. Like
I agree. They had a just tough way to end their year again, eliminating the first round.
they choke in the postseason. When was the last time they won a playoff series? I mean,
2014, I think. They just they can't let those things happen to them, especially when their team is young and it's a good team. They just gotta do a better job of recruiting and not letting certain players go. That's a good pitcher you have.
yeah,
Don't
he's a top 10 pitcher, easy.
100%.
I mean, why would you let him go? I mean, I think it's stupid. And then when he pitched in the postseason for one game, I mean, he was dominant.
He was doing just fine.
He was
Perfectly fine.
dominant.
It was the offense that didn't help him out. And I feel like with the offense the offense that the Diamondbacks have, it will help them a lot. Getting ahead of myself, for him to produce and get the wins because that's what you need out of your offense is good teams that can hit the ball. And Corbin's been needing that for a while. Even with the Brewers, it was a little shaky.
And the D-backs were kind of like they were right on the edge of like being in the playoffs last year. So like they're not really that far off. And when you get a guy like Corbin Burns, I think that will put you in the playoffs and put you back in the hunt. Because let's not forget, I mean, this Diamondbacks team was in the World Series 2 seasons ago. And they add a guy of Corbin Burns's, or not Corbin Burns, Corbin Burns. Sorry, I'm mixing up Corbin Carroll right now, dude. Like, it's like in my head. But that's a big deal for a team who just made the World Series not even that long ago.
It is big, and that's where like WAR comes in. Like whatever that WAR percentage is for Corbin, that him alone can help them win as games they needed. Like you said, they just missed it last year. If he was there last season and he was winning games for them and being clutch and staying deep in the games, that alone helps them move on.
And he also has a lot of pitches he can go to. I mean, he's got the cutter that's absolutely disgusting, and he's got his curveball. His fastball is not fast, but it really throws people off. Like people cannot touch it for some reason. It doesn't make
It's because of
sense.
the way he mixes pitches, especially with his cutter. His cutter is his best pitch, and when he mixes that in with his fastball and his breaking stuff, along with the changeup he has, there's basically no chance.
Yeah,
I mean,
forget it.
I wanted him for the Cubs, and we didn't get him, but he did get a lot of money. He got the bag, low key.
Yeah, he did. And let's swing it over to you. Who is your favorite pickup of the offseason?
Might be a little surprising for me coming from the Cubs fan, and maybe a little basic, but I have a lot to talk about it. I think the Yankees getting Cody and stealing him from us was pretty good, and I'll tell you why. The short porch out in right field will definitely help Cody a lot. He had 15 homers to right field last season with us, combined in home and away, and now he's in Yankee Stadium. That short porch will help him to his advantage and hit more home runs. He hit less home runs last season with us they did the previous year. He had 18 last year, which is not a lot for Cody. You don't see that often. So that will help him a lot because he doesn't pull the ball that often. He didn't have any pull side home runs with us at all. He had one barely in the left center and one straightaway center. So in my opinion, that's a big pickup for them. And Cody obviously has a good glove. He won the Gold Glove. We see the off-field problems with the Yankees. Judge, I'm sorry, I don't want to drop balls in the outfield in the World Series, brother. I don't care. I'm not taking that. And obviously Soto is not known for his glove either. So when you replace Cody and you put him in center field and Judge goes back to right instead of having Soto in right, I feel like it's a big pickup and it's huge because Cody, even though he's known for his offense too, he's known for his defense. And if they really want to, they can put him at first when he needs to and put a young guy out there in center for the Yanks just to contribute in that center field spot.
Yeah, I think we'll dive into that one a little bit more as well because we do want to talk about that. The other guy I had in there that I put Corbin Burnes over was Jack Flaherty going back to the Detroit Tigers. I mean, I think that's a big deal. I think that really rounds out their rotation. I mean, this Tigers team is really good, especially when they're pitching. I mean, you've got Tarek Skubal just balling out. I mean, man was second in the MLB last year in ERA, and he won eight. He had 18 wins last year. So like, and I know you're not a big wins guy, but 18. I mean, that's a lot.
I mean, yeah, like you said, I'm not huge on wins because wins is more of a team and luckiest stat because a team could blow the lead and the team inning that he pitched in. I'm not gonna get into that right now, but where the Tigers needed, as we saw last year, because again they barely squeaked in, and one issue with them again with the Diamondbacks was starting pitching. So
but now the rotation's rounded out, and you also got Reese Olson, Casey Mize is still there, so like they have 4 solid starting pitchers. And like you said, that's what they needed. And they got. And the thing that's weird is Jack Flaherty was just there. So like he got traded and then he went back.
I mean, hey, that's baseball, man. I mean, the trade deadline for baseball is really weird. I mean, you get a guy a rental for like that little bit of the season, just to even make a push to the playoffs or even go just far in general. But just for Jack Flaherty, I mean, it's really a big pickup. He's a good pitcher as well. Like, he's pretty solid. He gets the outs. He gets the job done. He gets the strikeouts when he needs to.
He did struggle in the postseason last year, though, I will say.
Yes.
7.6 ERA. No, that's not good.
Not going to cut it. But again, it's all momentum and mentality and shaking it off next season. So, me personally, I feel like we'll pick it back up. He also had a decent contract with them, so he's there for a little bit. He'll pick up things probably behind Skubal in the order, maybe second or third, right behind him, and it will give him over that hump because they have a good bullpen, and their hitting is young, and it would help them in the long run.
Yeah, I like the Tigers a lot, and I think we'll move on to Gabe's favorite player. Right, you don't hear enough about Shohei Ohtani when you know Gabriel Vasquez. That is an absolute fact. So Shohei Ohtani, he's not going to be ready to pitch opening day, but he's going to be ready to pitch, according to Dave Roberts, late May. That's the target date for Shohei Ohtani. He did say he's still feeling some discomfort in his elbow, which I think is just a part of the process of getting back from Tommy John, because that's a pretty big surgery to have, especially for a pitcher of Ohtani's caliber. And we know how good he can be when he's fully healthy on both sides of the ball. And last year at 50-50, and he wasn't even pitching. He still won MVP. So, I mean, that speaks for itself right there. But how should the Dodgers handle this? If he's not ready by May, how should they handle it?
Just let him rest. Let him get better. Just simple as that. Just let him cope with it. Do what he's doing with the bat and on the bases. Just let him sit on it. Don't rush him. You never want to rush Tommy John, whether you're a pitcher or a hitter. Just don't do it. It's bad. And like you said, with the caliber of Ohtani, the way he throws, the way he pitches, the way he releases the ball with his elbow, please just don't rush it. If you want Ohtani to be successful on the mound, you have to let him wait it out. Let him be ready when he's ready to pitch. I'm excited to see him pitch whenever he does, late May, opening day, next season, if it really has to come to that, whenever. I'm excited. I feel like that's the one thing that Ohtani needs to get back on and prove to the world that he's officially, to some people, the GOAT, unless you're like me, I think he's the GOAT. But I feel like that is the one thing that he needs to get over the hump on, because to prove he's a good two-way player, because even Babe Ruth stopped pitching because he was too hard for him. This is his bounce back pitching, not year per se, but like moment, because he won't start for opening day, so you really can't tell how good he will be because he's missing 2 months.
And he doesn't have much pressure, in my opinion. I mean, you add a guy like Blake Snell to the rotation, no pressure needed. I mean, they got pitchers around him, and then Kershaw. I know he's older, but he's had a lot of time to get back and fully healthy. So we'll see if he can make an impact in the rotation. He's not going to be the same old Kershaw. We all know that, but
of course,
if you can have guys like that step up, I think it's very important. Roki Sasaki is also a big piece. They have a lot of pitchers in their bullpen and their starting rotation. Yamamoto, he is a great pitcher, great young arm. I think they have talent around Ohtani that he doesn't have to rush back. And if he is struggling at pitching, which who knows, maybe when he comes back from Tommy John, he does have that kind of, okay, get the rust off kind of thing. But even if he does, they have guys around him. He's on arguably the greatest team in baseball history. There's no question about that. I mean, you've got how many MVPs on that roster? At least 3. At least 3 former MVPs. You got Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Shohei Ohtani. And then you've got the pitchers that are just absolute studs. And Blake Snell from the Giants? Like, dude, how can you make a Dodgers team better? I mean, hey, they did it. I mean, even though they lost Walker Buehler, they still have.
I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. But if I would have saw this Dodger team, like, shoot, 3-4 years ago, I would have been like, man, I hate Dodgers even more. But it's all for Ohtani.
Well, since he loves Ohtani so much, dude. I mean, this guy.
Ohtani will get on the ring, and everything's gonna be fine, and we're all gonna be happy again.
Who said we all were gonna be happy? Who? No one ever said that.
I'll be happy.
Well, then don't put we in all and just you. Don't do this to that.
You're gonna be happy for Ohtani to get on the ring?
Well, he's gonna have 2. If you do 1 plus 1, he's gonna have 2. You're correct. We're doing math here on the Take Podcast.
That's great.
What kind of question is that? Do you know what's going to happen if he gets another ring? Yeah, he's going to have 2.
You have 2, dude. Yeah.
When you look him up on Wikipedia, it's going to say it's 2 rings. So, yeah, whatever, dude. And it's probably not going to be that hard for him to get it, in my opinion.
No. I mean, hey, you can't blame him. He has a super team on him. Can't blame him for that. I mean, you can blame him if he loses it, but I mean, still.
I mean, he already won one, so it honestly, it doesn't matter, dude. One more question before we move on from Ohtani. So let's say Ohtani's load is a little too heavy when he comes back. Do you think it's a good idea to have him come out of the bullpen, maybe warm up to coming back as a starter if that's the case?
If that's what he's feeling, I would say so. I just feel like with the bullpen coming off a starter role in the bullpen, you get less opportunities. You're probably throwing a little harder because you're not throwing as much. It might put a little more strain on it. But the way that Ohtani throws, he might come in as a late reliever, maybe even a closer. I mean, he did it for the WBC with Japan. So it's not completely out of the question, but I feel like with Ohtani's mentality, I feel like he'll find a way to make sure he gets back on that mound as a starter. But I can see him possibly coming out of the bullpen if it really comes to that.
We'll see. I hope he comes back good. I've seen him throwing at spring training. He looks good, but obviously he still doesn't look like he's fully back yet. I think he's still taking some time. I was watching him throw. I mean, Dave Roberts is staring this guy down. He's like, I need my $700 million player to be all right. I need him to be good because I need him to pitch.
He needs that Cy Young already, man. I'm telling you. At least like reliever of the year or something. Like give him a pitching category or a pitching award or something.
Well, he's got to play enough games. as a pitcher.
Yes.
So that's going to be the how he needs to start that. That's it right there. But
That's it.
yeah,
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, he started the All-Star game in 2021 as the starting pitcher and leadoff hitter, and he led every pitching category in 2022 with Ks per nine, WAR, and FIP. So
he hasn't pitched since 2023, Gabe.
I hope he better come back and just go off because he can do it. He can do it. Trust me. He just needs to be healthy.
I know you believe. I know you believe in him. You don't need to convince anybody here that you believe in Shohei Ohtani. And I think the entire world believed in him when he hit a home run in the postseason, his first ever postseason game. So I think that the door has shut on whether Ohtani can do it or not because we know he can. And I think let's move on because you mentioned Cody Bellinger earlier. So let's go back to this conversation. So Kyle Tucker, the Cubs get him from the Astros. The Cubs, they deal Bellinger to the Yankees. Which team benefits more in this whole situation?
It is tough. It's close. I mean, they're both great players. They're both great outfielders. They're both good hitters. As of this moment, because Bellinger's an MVP, Rookie of the Year, Tucker is not. But as of this moment, I would say we benefited from last season. Tucker has better average, better slug, and a better OPS, and homers. He led him in every other category in hitting. Now you take the balance of who's better fielding, who's better hitting. I think Cody might be a slightly better fielder, but Tucker has a good fielding as well. And Tucker's WAR, the way he helps his team out, and the way he hits with runners in scoring position, will help what the Cubs were struggling in the end last season. That's what I think will get us over the hump. But honestly, I think it benefited both teams in their own separate ways. But I feel like in our perspective, because we're Cubs fans, I feel like it helped us a lot because Cody had not a down year, but it wasn't the same as he had since the previous, with his average being at an all-time high. He had a decent amount of homers, and he had a good slug. So, like I said, it's going to benefit the Yankees with Bellinger because of short porch. They need outfield help. So, in their perspective, it helps them. In ours, it helps ours. So, I would say that we got a good deal. I think it's more of the steal of the trades that we got for him. Hopefully, the Cubs will extend him during this trade deadline or even at the end of the year.
He's on a one-year contract right now, right?
Correct. $17.5 million, if I'm not mistaken. So, it just, again, playing at Wrigley is tough because the wind, the day games, the atmosphere sometimes it gets a little get a little pressure for him. So we'll see how the ballpark treats us this year. I know last year was tough because there's a stat that said this year was one of the worst years to hit at, not worst years, but one of the toughest years to hit at Wrigley because the wind kept blowing in, which reduced our home runs. So I feel like the way Tucker plays and how he's in the outfield, he'll play in right. I think he's much better right fielder than Suzuki. I will definitely help, but I think it has benefited us. I think as of right now, the Cubs got the better benefit of the doubt with this trade or swap.
I agree with that part of it, but I think Tucker's a better fielder, in my opinion. I think Kyle Tucker is a little bit faster, and also he's a little bit more athletic than Bellinger, in my personal opinion. And like you said, he's a better hitter. In 78 games last year, he was actually very impressive. I mean, he had a 993 OPS. That is insane for only playing 78 games. That is absurd. And he batted .289 with 23 homers in 78 games. He almost hit more home runs than he did in 2023 in literally half the amount of games. So last year, if you think about it, Kyle Tucker was on pace to have an MVP caliber season. If you really look at his totality, if he didn't get hurt, he would have had an MVP type season last year. And I think it's not even close for who won this or not. I think the Yankees, honestly, they're kind of in their whole other, we're going to try to replace Soto type of thing, which That's okay. I mean, the Yankees did get Bellinger. They also did get Paul Goldschmidt. Now, I know he is 37 years old, but Paul Goldschmidt can still hit the ball for power. He still is an elite hitter when he is healthy, in my opinion. I know he's not, the MVP Goldschmidt that we all used to see on the Cardinals. But I think the Yankees getting those two guys is very important. But I think for the Cubs, it was just such a bigger deal because Chicago Cubs were 17th in Major League Baseball in batting average. And just with Tucker in that lineup, I think that's going to exponentially help the Cubs. I mean, we're a favorite to win the NL Central for a reason. It's because of this man. He's like top 6 in the MVP conversation going into the year. I mean, that's how good this man is.
He's a really good player. And the reason why I said it was so close is because I still like Cody. And the thing with me is I think Cody might be a little more athletic. In my opinion, I think he had the injuries might have hurt him a bit. He had a couple
But I also don't think Cody's as consistent because I think Tucker has been way more consistent throughout his career than Bellinger has. Because we've seen Bellinger win the MVP as a Dodger and then the very next year have like his worst season ever. We've seen that many times. You just explained. He was batting 300 last year. His average dropped. He wasn't hitting as many homers. His slugging was low. So, like, that's kind of a blueprint that we've already seen with Cody Bellinger. And with Kyle Tucker, you're going to get consistency. And that's exactly what the Cubs have been lacking the last couple of years, especially on offense, because the Chicago Cubs have the defense. We're one of the best defensive teams in baseball the last 2 years. We have guys that can make plays, and we have good pitching this year. I mean, our bullpen is loaded. And our starters, that speaks for itself right there. I mean, Justin Steele, we got him coming back. And I know we lost Kyle Hendricks, which, as Cubs fans, that is bittersweet to see.
It does suck. But I think it was time for him to find a new team. I think he had his time with us. His style of play was, not getting old per se, but it was getting to a point where we had to find something new and maybe get another lefty arm in there, which you have a lot of them this year. You got 3 lefties in our starting rotation. So I feel like like I said, we have good pitching.
And we got a closer.
Yes.
Presley. That's important. We didn't have that last year.
Look at all the Astros coming out of the Cubs.
Yeah, but funny enough, Isaac Perez, he went from the Cubs to the Astros.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, literally. I mean.
Oh my gosh, I think we might have dodged a bullet by not keeping him because his production when we traded for him went down.
Horrible.
we traded Morale. I was like, we traded a young player, but then we get Paredes. I'm like, yeah, he can hit. And then the man wasn't hitting when he got to Chicago.
No, he was not producing with us whatsoever. It was pretty bad.
I saw him in spring training today, and he didn't hit the ball.
Well, the reason why they got him was because the Crawford boxes out in left is such an advantage because he's such a pull hitter that he'll pull the ball to left. That's all he does. That's why they had him in Tampa, because he had a short porch out there in left too. I mean, it's like I don't know why they want to bring him to Wrigley. The wind blows in, in the summer. It still has a factor. If blowing in, he's not gonna get the ball out. I mean, interesting. He has nowhere near the power Morel had. Morel could hit the ball into the wind.
He was just undisciplined at the plate. That was his problem.
That was bad. But I do like this trade with Tucker. I hope we keep him. I want to buy his jersey, but I have a thing of buying jerseys and teams just not keeping my players.
Yeah, I just need a guy to stay first. Like I'm trying to figure out like he to even get. I mean, they don't sell Craig Counsell.
Oh, they do. They do.
Oh, they sell Craig Counsell jerseys.
They do. You gotta look for them though. It's hard to find, but they do.
Maybe I'll get me one of those because I think Craig Counsell, he's got the pressure on him. Once again, I feel like. I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, every offseason, Chicago Cubs this. They're going to be better this year. We're going to get here. Like, we're going to make the playoffs. We're going to do this. Like, I want to see it on the field. We say this every single year, Gabe. I'm sick and tired of the hype. I just want it done.
I know. I want it to happen. I want it to be real. I want to stay in first place for almost the whole year. have a big lead in the big lead in the division, stomp the Brewers and the Cardinals, of course.
Well, I don't really think this division, other than the Chicago Cubs, really improved that much, to be
No,
honest.
I would say.
I mean, because the
would say
Reds lost a pretty big piece in Jonathan India. Like, that was a big
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah, that was a decent piece they lost. I don't think it'll hurt their team too much. They have a good manager in Terry. I mean, Tito is a great manager, and I feel like him being Tito will attract players to want to play for him. He's already basically a Hall of Fame manager.
No, he's not basically, he is.
Yes, he would definitely get there. Better get there. So people want to play. Players want to play for him. So I feel like the Reds could be a sneaky team, and they were decent these past couple years. Like us, I mean, they've had their own issues with their offense, but me personally, a little off track. I know. I actually have this in my notes. Just came off the top of my head, but I think the Reds could make a decent push, and they've been showing it this past couple years. So we'll see what they do.
I mean, I don't know if the Brewers really improved much. I mean, they're always the Brewers. They somehow remain competitive. I mean, I feel like as long as Christian Yelich is healthy, they have a chance. But they did lose Santana, who I thought was, he's older, but like he's still a pretty good player in their lineup that they lost. So I don't know. I feel like the Cubs are definitely for sure gonna win the NL Central because I just don't think. I mean, teams like the Pirates. I mean, poor Paul Skeens, man. I mean, he's in prison in Pittsburgh. I mean, he has no help whatsoever. I mean, I feel like if any organization is gonna waste a Hall of Fame talent, it's going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates. And they're about to do it because they got nobody around Paul Skeens. And he's cheap. He's cheap. He hasn't even had to pay him yet. So put help around him. Give him an offense. I mean, I was looking through the Pirates roster. I have no idea who these people are. Like, who are these guys? Like, where are they getting these players? Like, are you just pulling them up from, like I don't know. And the only pitcher in the Pirates rotation is Paul Skeens.
They have a good farm. I don't know. They're probably just waiting on it. They also have they don't have that great of a salary cap on their team, so they really can't spend anybody.
Which is absurd. You don't have a good salary cap, and that doesn't make sense. Isn't baseball? but baseball doesn't have a salary cap, so aren't they implementing that?
I'm sorry, not salary cap. It's not salary cap. It's the payroll. Their payroll is not great. It's like one of the worst in the league.
Isn't baseball trying to implement a salary cap though soon? Isn't that a conversation?
I believe so, but the way that they run things with the money, like if a team can't spend a certain amount of money on a player, like the Dodgers do, that's why the Dodgers players always defer their contracts. That way they can keep the money and get players for a certain amount. That's what they do. And if they do overstep that barrier, like the tax line or I guess in that case it would be the cap, the salary cap.
I think it's luxury tax.
Oh, luxury tax. There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Luxury tax.
Which the Dodgers are way over right now, and they're gonna have to pay that up soon.
They're gonna do it. Other darn players they got.
Yeah, they're kind of screwed when it comes to the luxury tax. Like actually, like they're not in a good spot with that, like at all.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with that. Honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of bad. I mean, I think it'd be fair. I mean, the habit, I think it'd be a good move. But we'll move on. We're got a little off topic there, but let's go into JB's picks. Okay, courtesy of Hard Rock Bet. So let's do our Dark Horse World Series winner first. So I think you know which direction I'm gonna go with this, and I think it's a pretty easy direction. I mean, I think the Philadelphia Phillies are not being as talked about as they need to talk about. I think they had one of the biggest pickups of the offseason, and it was Max Kepler.
Yep.
I mean, that's a big deal. And then they still got Zach Wheeler, who is easily a top 5 pitcher in baseball. Still got Aaron Nola. Soto's in the lineup. Of course, you got Bryce Harper. I mean, that he's coming into this season. He's healthy. Trey Turner. I mean, this lineup is pretty loaded. And they didn't make the run that everyone anticipated them making last year. But I think this year they're going to be back and they're going to be ready to go. And also another dark horse for me. This is a little bit more of a dark horse because that one, Philly's kind of a contender. I would watch out for the Mariners.
Okay, all
I
right.
think the Mariners,
That
Randy or Rosarena, I think he can do some damage. They also got George Kirby, Bryce Miller, and Logan Gilbert in their starting rotation, which is not bad. And this is a Mariners team that's been knocking on the door for a couple years. They haven't been able to make the postseason. I think this is the year where they break through and possibly make a run. I'm not saying that, they're going to be the best team in the league, but like they're a sneaky team in my opinion. And we talked about the D-backs. I think that's another team as well that could be back in the mix. Those are my couple dark horse.
That one, I didn't see that one coming with the Mariners. I could see that one. That one's pretty good. I would say, obviously, if it's not our team, even though we're kind of contending, but we're still at the Cubs. I'm biased there, but I would say something dark horse for me is probably be the Guardians. I mean, they in the ALCS. I mean, they faced the high-powered Yankees. And they lost a couple of guys, but they find the pieces together. They get their starting pitching in order. That was like more like kind of a last minute thing before we did on this. I'm like, man, if you want to think of dark horse favorite, I would probably pick the Guardians to go over that hump. I mean, again, they've been to the ALCS last year for the first time since 2016. We all know what happened that year.
Hey! I got two wine bottles that haven't been opened that say 2016 World Series.
Yeah, right.
That's all I gotta say.
Flags back there. No, Rizzle has the patch here somewhere. Yep, there it is. There it is, brother.
Oh, and I got a legend right here.
Oh yeah. Good old Rhino. Hope pray for him. His cancer gets better. But yeah, I think the Guardians, they can be consistent enough with their hitting. Their defense was a struggle in the championship series. They, couldn't really hold it in their bullpen. I mean, Emmanuel Clase, what happened, brother? I mean, he's the best closer in the league. And he just sold against the Yankees. So I feel like with them, I can feel like they can make a run. Oh, and the Tigers, of course. Tigers got, that pickup, and they have Skubal. If their lineup can be consistent, the defense can stay up to date. That AL Central, much better than years prior. I can see those two teams make it, and then Yankees as well. Obviously, they have a.
Well, they're gonna win that. They're gonna win that division. I mean, it's
yeah, that East Division. Yeah, I mean, who else? Yeah, the Rays. Come on, dude.
Yeah, dude. No, like no. The Yankees got their division crown already if they want it. I think that's interesting, and then we'll go to MVPs as well. I'm gonna go AL MVP. I'm gonna take Bobby Witt Jr. I mean,
yes, we had the same one. All right,
I think he's gonna get it this year. I mean, he had a heck of a season last year. He led the MLB in batting average. He was hitting for contact and power. He's also pretty decent in the field. So, like, I think he can do a lot of good things for the Royals. And he was literally the reason why the Royals were so good last year. And they got better as well. So, I would go Bobby Witt Jr. in the American League. And that's funny that we had the same one.
Yeah, the same. I mean, I was low-key glazing him last year with how good.
I mean, he had, with reason. Like, he was so good last year. He could have won it. He could have won it last year. Honestly, he really could have.
I mean, I know Judge had a fantastic hitting year, and he blew up numbers. We get that.
I think Witt was better personally.
I think if you look at complete players, Bobby Witt is that complete player. He has speed. He steals bases, contact, power, good glove. He has a Gold Glove, and he's 25 years old. He's only 25 and he has a Gold Glove. Like, realize that. Like, that's something you don't really see when a young shortstop with this caliber. He's showing it. His WAR off the chart, almost 9.5 WAR. And that's 9.4, over 100 RBIs. When I just look at the stats, they gave him a horrible prediction for his 2025 year. They have him batting. Oh my gosh, they have him batting. Where is it? It's here somewhere. I can't find it. It's on the stat sheet. Okay, I gotta spread out the sheet a little bit because they're not showing it. Anyway, they have him. Yeah, they have him batting 295 this year.
Who is this according to?
Baseball Reference.
What do they have him batting?
295. Compared to
they have him batting 395.
No, 295.
Oh my gosh, I was about to say. Whew. I almost had a heart attack, dude. I was like 395 is nuts.
No, I mean that's not bad, but coming off a 332 year and you have 195? That's horrendous.
He's
And
25
I'm
years of
thinking-
age.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. And they only have him hitting 26 homers and 89 RBIs. That is a horrible projection for this year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're expecting him to have a down year, which I don't think he will have a down year. I think he's going to get better. I think he's going to get way better. And the Royals, man, I mean, I think they're also a dark horse team as well. Not to go back, but they're definitely in the conversation to win a World Series. 100%.
Again, they
I
have
mean,
to
they've
go
got
through
the pitching. Their pitching is good.
Yeah, they have veterans. They still got Perez back there behind the plate. He's been there forever. I mean, he won the World Series with them. Excuse me, in 2015. You know, those I would probably pick them as well.
And Lugo's really good. Like, I mean, they still have a lot of guys over there that can do their thing. And I think the NL MVP race could be obviously very one-sided with Shohei Ohtani. I mean, I'm gonna pick Ohtani to win it this year again.
I don't have it, but I'll take it.
But I think a guy who could get it, in my opinion, is Fernando Tatis. I think he could win an MVP this year.
Yes.
Especially with Profar leaving, I think that's going to put more weight on Tatis' shoulders to kind of pull through and do a little bit more. Because Profar was a big piece to lose, in my opinion, for the Padres. But, I would say Tatis is a guy I would love to see him win MVP. He was a beast last year. He was really good, and he's young.
I agree with that. I would have picked him. I know I want to say this kid. Now, the reason why I'm not going to say him, because you bring up Tatis, so reminding me of someone else, his hitting has to figure it out, especially with 2 strikes. He strikes out way too much. But Ellie De La Cruz, I mean, he's a very talented and flashy player, but he has to get the bat going. Like, I have a good friend of mine who's a Reds fan. He just strikes out too much.
He does.
So I'm not going to put him as my horse for MVP right now. I was going to put Freddie Freeman as one of my guys to win it. I had a great postseason, better World Series. And I feel like that momentum he's going to have might carry into this year. And get his, I think, in my opinion, more of a real MVP, or I should say full season, because he won it in 2020, but half season, shortened, whatever. So I feel like with the momentum that he's going into and everything that he's gone through to end the year, I feel like he can pick that up and really make a push for the MVP and, beat even Soto, I'm sure, has crazy odds, but we're not going to pick him.
Yeah, he's got the second highest odds, Juan Soto. And I think Freeman's a good one. I'll bring up another one before we move on. I honestly think that Mookie Betts, him moving to shortstop, I think he could definitely easily be in the conversation. Now he's playing shortstop. So, I think that could be huge.
Yeah. I haven't seen him there. We'll see how much they play him, see how much he contributes and he produces. I can't see Mookie playing infield. I mean, I know people say he's pretty solid. He is solid. He's a solid infielder. I just love seeing him in the outfield because he has great speed and momentum and range to get to the ball. So
I think it's
feel
kind of crazy that he's playing shortstop this year. That's kind of absurd, honestly.
I do too. I didn't see that coming, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. I'm sure he's going to be good at it, but I just don't see Mookie in that position. Like, you think of Mookie Betts, you don't think of a shortstop. You think of a right fielder, Like, that's just me.
Or you think of in the World Series last year where the Yankees fans trying to grab the ball.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was awesome, dude. Those guys are not allowed at baseball games no more.
None of them. Neither one of them.
They're banned for life.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do if I was banned for life in every park.
Well, yeah, I'd have to look. I have to keep calling you every hour of the day. That's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Speaking of Yankees, we all know what happened this offseason. This is the biggest news of the offseason. Juan Soto, $765 million, goes to the Mets, goes to Queens, a little short, train ride to leave Aaron Judge. And Aaron Judge and him have been going back and forth a little bit. Aaron Judge said in a press conference, hey, I disagree with Soto that he said he has a better chance to win in New York. Like...
It's so funny. I'm thinking at first it's gonna be like this little media beef thing that they started, but no, they're actually upset. Like Judge is salty that he left, and I think a part of the beef was that because Soto felt under Judge, with the Yankees, and
But he wasn't. Judge had like 4 hits all postseason.
throughout the whole year, like throughout the regular season. I mean, Soto did a great year, but like everyone was all Judge, MVP, Judge, because everyone loves Judge.
Oh yeah, and by the way, home runs are the most overblown stat in baseball. The only reason Judge won the MVP is because he hit a bunch of home runs.
I would probably agree, but I agree with the reason why he won the MVP, or I could say why. I can see why you say that. I don't think they're an overrated stat because everyone loves home runs.
I mean, it's not an overrated stat, but like you can definitely get hyped up a little bit more than it should.
Yeah, it's more hyped up, like you said, because it got robbed of Bobby Witt's complete, or MVP in my opinion season. I mean, you had the hits, the homers, the stolen bases, the fielding, the RBIs. I mean, again, Judge had more RBIs and all that, but I feel like with this beef, it's just too funny, and I can't wait for them to play each other in New York. Both sides of in both cities.
It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good, dude. Like this is
both areas.
This is a rivalry that we didn't know we needed.
No, literally, but it happened. I mean, like, you got Judge saying, "Oh yeah, the reason why he didn't want to come is because it was like a hotel room or $1,000 or whatever it was." Like, oh no, it was the beard rule. It was the beard rule.
But now it's gone. The beard rule's not even a thing now. So like, it doesn't matter. It's gone.
Which I have my own thing with that.
Like, what is that?
That is hilarious.
Why would you get rid of that? I mean, that's what made the Yankees the Yankees.
Literally, that's what I'm saying. I don't like that. My personal opinion. Again, you know me. I love tradition. I don't like how they handle that at all. Keep it. You've been doing it for years.
And also let them know before spring training starts.
Yeah.
Don't do it 2 weeks into spring training. Like, what does that do? A guy was growing out a nice beard all off season. He's got to cut it. And I know hair grows back, but like, still, like,
it takes a minute to do that, man. It takes a while.
I can't grow a beard. That's for sure. I cannot do that. So I'd be playing for the Yankees right now because
yeah, for the Yankees right now.
Clean shaven, dude. Get me a Yankee hat. I have to ask one of our buddies for a Yankee hat if he wants to loan it to me. He probably wouldn't, honestly, without that. He was so upset after that Soto thing dropped. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This guy, I've never seen a Yankee fan so upset. So who benefited more from this whole Soto situation, the Yankees or the Mets?
I mean, like I said, with Bellinger not being replacing, but having him this little thing that he have with the Yankees, I would say, I guess with the Mets side, I guess they benefit. I mean, he hit his home run the first game in spring training. It's a good sign. I feel like the Mets needed someone like that. They, again, were a series short of the World Series, and I feel like they wanted someone as big as Soto to be on their team. But I guess with the attitude that Soto was having, why would you want someone like that on your team if he's beefing with the captain, I just feel like you don't want that. And the fact that he left them so quickly after having a great season in New York, or Yankees, I should say, to leave him like that, this just shows no loyalty. And I feel like Yankees kind of dodged the bullet, I guess, personally, not maybe player-wise per se, because he's a great player, but I guess personally in Soto's own little world, they might have dodged the bullet, but the Mets might have benefit on the player side of it.
So you think the Yankees won it in totality?
I would say so. I mean, they had a good offseason. I mean, they got a couple of guys. They got, like I said, Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Max Fried.
Yeah, that's a big one, dude.
Yeah, they saved money to get those players. So at the end of the day, I do believe the Yankees did win on this side. I do.
And also, if you think about it, with Soto's long 12-year contract, who knows if he's going to be hitting the way he's hitting in the middle of that contract even. Like, right. You go 5 years into it. Who knows if he's putting up the production? I mean, if you think about it, he hasn't hit 300 since 2020.
Right.
Yeah, so, like, technically his production batting average has been going down slightly. He's still one of the greatest hitters in the game. But
he's just a pure power guy. I mean, he can hit for average when he needs to. But again, the player that he is with the bat is just unmatched. I mean, it's basically a Judge, but without the average.
But I mean, when it comes to the playoffs, he's better than Judge. I mean, I think he proved that last year. I mean, hasn't lived up to any of the hype when it comes to himself being in the postseason. I mean, he's got all the pressure in the world. He's the captain, New York Yankee. You know, he's considered the best player in the league to some people. And you go in and you perform like that.
It matters most.
It's no excuses. And the only reason the Yankees were in the World Series last year is because everyone else around him was stepping up. You guys like Volpe, Chisholm, Soto, Stanton. He had a phenomenal postseason, which he's hurt right now. He's got tendonitis in both of his elbows, which is pretty insane. I don't know when he's going to come back.
Yeah, they said he's not gonna be ready for opening day, and we'll see where he goes or how long it will take him. Honestly, he's getting older too, But I don't know. It's a big piece that they miss. But again, the Yankees had a good offseason. They might be able to, just be fine without him. It depends on how good Cody would do, how good Paul would do, and how effective Max Fried will pitch. And with Cole, now that Cole can get his aura back with his beard. Cole had a nice beard. He was on the Astros.
He's going to grow it back, I think.
Nice beard, man. It'll be nice to see him have a beard again.
I think he's going to grow back. And I think Rendon also had a beard as well when he was on the Giants.
Yes, correct. And the White Sox.
He can grow that back.
See Judge with a beard will be really interesting. Let's see Judge with a beard.
Yeah, dude. And we'll close it out with some Mike Trout, Los Angeles Angels talk. We got Mike Trout moving to right field after being in center field for his whole career. How does this impact Mike Trout's longevity, you think?
I think it preserves it a decent amount because center field is a big position. A lot of weight on the shoulders of the outfield. It's the captain of the outfield. So I feel like it helps him a lot. Injury-wise, he's had a couple of hiccups with the injury department. Maybe getting back on track. He has the arm for right field, 100%. Obviously, he's a good fielder. He hasn't ever won a Gold Glove, unfortunately, but he has good fielding. So I feel like definitely help him in the long run. Hopefully, it makes him a little more consistent now and healthy. But overall, I feel like that outfield experience that he has, it will come in the right field, and he'll just do fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be better for him. A guy as good as Mike Trout. I mean, let me ask you this question. Is Mike Trout still a top 10 player in the MLB when healthy?
Oh, absolutely. When healthy, it's not even a question, it's not even a doubt. Like, you never should even doubt that. I mean, Mike Trout, before Ohtani stepped into this world, was considered one of the greatest in our generation, if not all time, if he had less injuries or even, a better team around him. I mean, like, he was just a stud. I mean, if you've seen prime Mike Trout, which I'm sure you are familiar with it.
Yes.
This guy was a beast. That guy was considered to be the best player ever. He was so good, and he only did was hit the ball, but he was fast. He was good with the field. He won 3 MVPs already. I mean, like 9 times Silver Slugger, Rookie of the Year, All-Star Game MVP twice. I mean, he's just a stud, and it's so sad to see him this hurt. But hopefully he bounces back because he is.
Yeah, the injury timeline is pretty bad. He's missed 250 plus games since 2021. Last year he had a torn meniscus. The year before that he had a fractured hamate, and he had back injuries in 2022. He's just had. I mean, it just never ends with this guy. I mean, it's really just annoying because when he is playing, he makes the Angels relevant, who have sucked for so long. I mean, they've been so bad. It's so crazy to look at the Los Angeles Angels. They've had Mike Trout, they've had Shohei Ohtani, and they haven't done anything. I mean, Mike Trout, he's only played in the postseason. He's only had 3 games in the postseason. He's only been there once. A player that good, it's just insane. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the greatest hitters of all time. That's not even a question. You definitely put him up there in the top 5 if you wanted to go there. You definitely could. I know he doesn't have the other accolades of winning, but he's just on a bad team. And honestly, I think it's kind of insane that he's even still on the Angels, and he's still pretty far into this contract that he signed. I think it was like a 13-year deal, and he's about to be done with that deal in a couple of seasons. So, like, the fact that he's playing it out, that just shows loyalty right there, and I want to see him healthy. Now, does Mike Trout being healthy mean the Angels are going to be good? Absolutely not. I think the Angels are still going to suck. They're still going to be bottom feeders, but they'll at least sell tickets in Anaheim.
They're in right field doing what Mike Trout does best. So it was same with Ohtani. When they were together, I mean, that's how they made their money, was having two of the best players on their team. You know, they didn't win, but they were just doing their own thing. The team was just choking away.
Choking. Yeah, they choke. They choke a lot, dude. Well, actually, they don't even get in positions to choke. They're just bad.
It's bad, yeah. I mean, choking is not even the right word. It's just they're just not good.
They're just not good. And we'll end on the Angels talk. This has been another episode of The Take. My guy, Gabriel Vasquez, host of Barniqua Sports. Go check him out. I appreciate you hopping on, talk some baseball. It's always great to have you.
Of course, man. I love this game. I love baseball. As always, go Cubs. And, we'll come back to this sometime in the summer, probably before the All-Star break, I'm sure, right?
Yes. We'll have to keep it up a little bit more as we've done. I know sometimes we like to come on here and do our huge, massive pod, but I think I want to keep, some little pods then and there when it comes to baseball. Keep up with it a little bit more and update you guys on our opinions. What we've seen in the game so far, especially with the Cubs. I think we need to do some just Cub pods in the future. Absolutely. And keep posting those. But we'll definitely keep Major League Baseball in the back of our head. And also, I don't know if you heard this, but the Guardians owner, he passed away at 94. Yes. So we do want to make sure that the Guardians and everyone is doing all right with that, because he's one of the longest tenure owners. He's owned the team for like 26 years. So that's a pretty big deal with that. But Gabe, I really appreciate you hopping on, dude. This has been absolute pleasure as always, dude.
Of course, man. It's an honor. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I still do this with you, even though you're 4 hours away from me. So keep it up.
Well, we keep going here. We keep going, dude.
We thrive. We grind over here. We
thrive, dude. That's what we're doing. But this has been another episode of The Take. I'm your host, Jackson Burleson. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We just hit 800 subscribers. So keep it up, guys. We're on the road to 1,000. Keep this going. Keep it going, guys. But I'm your host, Jackson Burleson. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video, and also comment what you guys think about the MLB season and how it all turn out. Give us all your thoughts and takes in the comments below. But I'm Jackson Burleson, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, yeah. Broadway paradise. They think I'm way too cold, cause I put my